Hi, my name is Jose Parra. Today we're going to be looking at user-defined classes. We're going to be looking at this class that we defined, or I defined to be a creature class. This creature class is going to have three variables that are defined: our integer health, our integer damage, and our string name, which is going to represent the name of the creature. Next, we're going to be looking at the constructor that creates these creatures. So our constructor for the creature is going to have three inputs, meaning we're going to have it's going to take in a name, take in a integer value for damage, and it's going to take an integer value for a health. And like we said right here, the N is going to go to name, the D is going to go to damage, and the H is going to go to health. Using this, we're going to create a creature that has these three values: the name, health, or the name, the damage, and the health. Now that we demonstrate the constructor that's creating these creatures, we're going to look at some of the getters and setters that allows us to change some of these specific values rather than having to create a whole new creature altogether. So first we need to look at the setter for changing the name of a creature. So we just define it to be set name, and it takes in the new input for the new name that you would want, and then all it does is going to set that new input to be the new name of the creature. And the same thing goes for trying to get the name of the creature that would be stored, meaning that when we try to do a get name of a creature, it's going to return that name that's stored within that creature that we created. Similar to the previous one, we can see here that it's going to be doing the same thing for the damage. The setter is going to work exactly the same, except that now it's taking an integer, and the getter is going to work exactly the same, and it's going to be returning the damage, and so forth for the health. Now that we understand how our creature was created, we're going to be looking at a instance where we're generating creatures. So here we can see that we have our main class, and in this one we're going to be defining four creatures. The first is going to be a zombie with 5 damage and 100 health. The next one is going to be a goblin with 15 damage and 50 health. The next one is going to be an orc with his 20 with 200, and our final creature is going to be Dracula with 50 and 500. Next, just for the sake of being able to generate any of these random creatures, we put them all in array. Now we are creating our creature, and this creature is going to be selected from one of these creatures that were already predefined using our creature class. And once we hit run, it's going to be printing out the name, the health, and their damage. So let's see what it runs. So as we can see right here, when we hit run, it's going to be printing out the stats of each of the two creatures that we define. So our first one would be a zombie, and it's going to have 100 health and 55 damage. The next one is an orc with 200 health and 20 damage, and as you can see, the constructors were working exactly as we wanted to because the values stayed the same. Now let's look at, let's say we wanted to change one of the names, then we're going to be using one of our getters. So we're going to say enemy 1 dot set name. Let's say we're going to change it to monster. Oh, sorry. So we're going to create a new creature, call it m equals new creature. Let's call him n. Remember, it takes in a string, takes in a integer value for damage, and a health. So now we can say m dot get name. And now we're going to do system dot out dot print ln m dot get name. And this is going to be printing out the name that we got, and again it's saying m. And so forth. These getters and setters allows us to be able to get specific values or specific traits that were defined within our creature.